You know, most of us experience minor annoyances in our day-to-day lives, but it takes a lot to irritate the God of Thunder. In fact, sometimes it takes one of his fellow superheroes to get under Thor's skin. We'll let you know which characters have managed to annoy Thor, and even his fellow Avengers aren't quite guilt-free.
I never did like that Tony Stark.
Before we begin, subscribe to CBR and ring that bell to join our notification squad so you never miss a video. Without further ado, here are some Marvel superheroes who love to annoy Thor.
I'm sure my brother Loki will be on that list. Right, CBR?
Hulk. Don't get us wrong, we love the Incredible Hulk as much as the next person, but we can see why he would get on someone else's nerves. After all, his frequent, uncontrollable rages are a constant source of frustration for Bruce Banner, so you can imagine how other people feel about him. Thor and Hulk have butted heads many times in the comics, and we've seen this battle play out on the big screen as well.
Puny Banner.
In the movie Thor Ragnarok, we see our hero stuck on the planet Sakaar and trapped in an arena with Hulk. At first, Thor is excited to see his old pal, but soon realizes the feeling is far from mutual.
Banner, you're embarrassing me.
Hulk has his heart set out on duking it out with Thor despite his pleas. Although he takes quite a few blows, Thor is ultimately forced to gain the upper hand by summoning a ferocious blast of lightning. Unluckily for him, the Grandmaster intervenes, causing Hulk to win. Outside of the arena, Hulk and Thor engage in battle once more, but this time with their words for the most part. Thor and Hulk argue with one another over who should have rightfully won the fight, and ended up getting quite snippy with one another. Thankfully, these two members of the Avengers are able to patch things up with one another, at least for now. Raccoon. In the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, we learn that the various members of the team all have problems playing nicely with others, and in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, we learn that this is still the case, especially when it comes to Raccoon. Despite considering the other Guardians his friends, Rocket is frequently at odds with them, particularly Peter Quill. One of the most exciting parts of Avengers Infinity War was seeing the Guardians working together with the Avengers.
Oh, look, a talking rabbit.
According to the co-director Joe Russo, the idea was to have Thor head out on a classic hero's quest to obtain a new weapon after a confrontation with Thanos. It doesn't go well. When the Guardians find him floating through space, Thor is at his absolute lowest moment, having just lost not only his hammer Mjolnir, but his brother Loki, and his best friend Heimdall. Russo claims Rocket seemed like the perfect companion for Thor's journey because he lacks the empathy one would need to sympathize with Thor in his situation. This made a stark contrast between the grieving Thor and the wisecracking Rocket, and Russo was confident audiences would respond to this. While Rocket may not comprehend Thor's grief at first, we think it's safe to say he does by the end of the movie. After watching his best friend Groot fade away into nothingness, Rocket and Nebula are left as the only remaining Guardians. What? The Blue Woman and the Talking Rabbit? My word. Hercules. Everyone knows that Thor and his brother Loki are characters from Norse mythology, but they aren't the only mythological characters to be featured in Marvel comic books. We've also seen another famous god which has been represented in many forms of media, and that's Hercules. Now, despite being both super strong gods, Thor and Hercules don't exactly get along. In fact, the two openly despise one another and come to blows frequently. Every so often, they begrudgingly team up to defeat a greater evil, but for the most part, they try to stay away from one another. One of the most charming parts of Thor we've seen in the MCU is that he seems to genuinely enjoy being on Earth, even if he finds it confusing at times. In the comic books, Hercules also enjoys Earth, but no small part of this is because he enjoys feeling superior to humans and lording over the other people. Needless to say, in addition to their natural competitive natures, Hercules and Thor have very different outlooks on life. In Thor 126, things come to a head between these two when they both competed for affection of Jane Foster. The two engage in a major brawl, causing no small amount of collateral damage. Ultimately, Hercules emerges the victor, due to Odin secretly sapping Thor's strength. Hercules can't resist gloating, and Thor ends up thoroughly shamed in front of the citizens of Earth.
Father, would you not stay out of my business? God, embarrassing me.
Emma Frost. Superhero friendships are often more complicated than ones experienced by us mere mortals. Frequently, we'll see them fighting each other with all of their might, only to shake hands and laugh it off later. Ha ha ha! But there's one member of the X-Men who pushed things way too far in a battle with Thor. In Avengers vs. X-Men, we saw these two famous superhero teams fighting against one another. Phoenix has awakened, but the X-Men are desperate to protect their good friend Jean Grey. On the other hand, the Avengers know that her unchecked cosmic force could mean the end of the universe. Naturally, this puts both teams at odds with one another, and Thor ends up fighting Emma Frost. However, in addition to physical blows, Frost can't resist insulting Thor. She calls both his punches and his hair girlish, and proceeds to make even more sexist comments as the battle progresses. Not only were her words scathing, but Frost was also imbued with the power of the Phoenix. This meant Thor didn't stand a chance against her. Even after shattering her and throwing her into space, her shards simply fell to Earth and tore him apart, an event which Frost survives since she's immortal. In addition to being super cruel, Frost is also a frustrating opponent for Thor, what with her being an unstoppable avatar of the Phoenix and all.
"'Tis true I do not care for Emma Frost, although she isn't bad to look at, is she?"
Iron Man. There's no denying that the Avengers are an effective team when they're all working together, but sometimes they have major personality conflicts, and since they're a group of superheroes, their arguing results in violence more often than not. Although they consider themselves friends, Tony Stark and Thor frequently find themselves at odds. In Stark's defense, everybody seems to irritate him, and Thor is no exception. We saw the two come to blows during the Avengers, when they got into a scuffle regarding Thor's brother Loki. Stark was under the opinion that Loki should be contained on Earth, while Thor wanted him essentially extradited to Asgard. Needless to say, this caused no shortage of tension between the two, particularly when Loki escaped. Tony Stark is a man of science, and Thor is a god straight out of mythology. If you think about it, it's more surprising that these two get along at all. According to the director Joss Whedon, when these two go head-to-head, it's more than a simple misunderstanding. Both parties believe they're fully in the right, and they need to win at all costs. They've also fought each other in the comics, including Iron Man number 66. After Iron Man finds himself possessed, he's defeated by Thor, who summons a powerful rainstorm and causes his supersuit to rust. Thankfully, Stark's technology has advanced greatly since then.
Yes, Tony Stark is an impressive individual, yet he's no demigod.
Red Hulk. Not only does Thor have to put up with the Incredible Hulk, but there's also the Red Hulk to contend with as well. We've seen Hulk and Thor duke it out on the big screen, so you can pretty much imagine that, but with the Hulk being red. Unlike Bruce Banner's Hulk, Red Hulk emits heat instead of getting stronger when he becomes angry. We're talking hot enough to melt desert sand into glass hot. In Hulk number 5, Thor finds himself face-to-face with Red Hulk, who isn't intimidated by him in the slightest. To add insult to injury, Red Hulk laughs right in Thor's face, while Thor rains blows down upon him. Even when Thor smacks him in the face with Mjolnir, it isn't enough to slow Red Hulk down. Instead, he decides a change of scenery by leaping into space and grabbing the hammer. Apparently, the whole only the worthy are able to wield Mjolnir thing goes out the window once zero gravity is in the mix. He smacks Thor silly with his own weapon before tossing him onto the moon. Ouch. Not only was this undoubtedly physically painful, it had to be embarrassing. The Red Hulk essentially beat Thor using the old stop hitting yourself trick, which had to bruise his ego at least.
Even Avengers need to deal with a bully every once in a while, including Thor.
Mantis. Movie fans first saw Mantis in the movie Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and got a glimpse of her incredible powers. Although she's known for her empathy, she's also a major powerhouse when she wants to be. We saw a glimpse of this during Avengers Infinity War, when she managed to slow down even the mighty Thanos using her abilities. During the movie, Mantis and Thor were united against the common enemy. But they've gone head-to-head in the comics before, and since she was able to stall Thanos, we're sure you can imagine what she was able to do to poor old Thor. In Avengers number 114, we saw Mantis seeking to join up with the Avengers. She was in the company of her partner, Swordsman, who would clash with this superhero team frequently in the past. Although some members of the Avengers were reluctant because of this, they were down 2 members because of the recent exits of Hawkeye and Quicksilver. Naturally, after being accepted into their ranks, Swordsman and Mantis immediately summon a lion god who tries to take out Black Panther. During the ensuing battle, Mantis takes down Thor using her powers. Ultimately, she and Swordsman trap the lion god in one of Tony Stark's machines and claim that it was their plan all along. Needless to say, Thor and the other Avengers were pretty wary of their new members after this stunt.
I think the God of Thunder, Thor, agrees with Drax on this one.
Squirrel Girl. Squirrel Girl is one of those heroes who people either love or find irritating, and Thor definitely falls into the latter category. Doreen Green has a squirrel-like tail and the ability to communicate with those acorn-loving animals. Like many superheroes, she would love to be a member of the famous Avengers, and even took on a babysitting job looking after Danielle Cage, the daughter of Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, with hopes it would help the Avengers notice her. The unbeatable Squirrel Girl number 8, we see Squirrel Girl getting the chance to rub elbows with both Thor and Loki. While Thor tries to keep things dignified, Loki can't resist the chance to both show off his powers and poke fun at his brother. He offers to turn into anything Squirrel Girl's heart desires, and she instantly responds that she would love to see him turn into a version of Thor as a cat. Loki is clearly overjoyed to comply with this oddly specific request, and Thor isn't thrilled. Even Jane Foster, also known as Thor the Goddess of Thunder, has an unhappy run-in with Squirrel Girl, or at least a clone of her. In the unbeatable Squirrel Girl beats up the Marvel Universe, she knocks out the Goddess of Thunder by hitting her with a powerful, alternating current. Loki. We know many people would consider Loki to be a straight-up villain, but hear us out. Loki has described himself as complicated when referred to as a villain, and we tend to agree. We've seen him do no shortage of bad things, but he has his heroic moments as well. He came back to save Thor and the other Asgardians during Thor Ragnarok, and stopped Thanos from killing Thor during Avengers Infinity War. But it's no secret that these two brothers rarely get along with one another. Of course, there are the major blowout battles that occur when Loki tries to defeat Thor and conquer Asgard, or Earth. But there are so many microaggressions between the two. In Thor Ragnarok, Thor remembers one of the many times Loki played tricks on him when they were growing up. Of course, there's the time when Loki disguised himself as a snake and bit Thor. But there was also a time when Loki transformed Thor into a frog. Although it was a passing joke in the movie, this actually did happen in the comics. In fact, it happened in Thor numbers 364 to 366 and is widely considered to be one of the stranger storylines. But don't worry, because even as a frog, Thor still managed to get the upper hand and take down Loki.
Thor certainly is the mightiest Avenger, even as a frog, and that's no croak. Get it?
Angela. In addition to constantly battling with his brother Loki, Thor has another troublesome family member. Angela had trouble settling into the Marvel Universe because of a dispute over her copyright between author Neil Gaiman and artist Todd McFarlane. Ultimately, though, she ended up being an amazing character with connections to some Marvel favorites, including the Guardians of the Galaxy and, of course, Thor. During Original Sin, we found out that Angela is the daughter of Odin and Freyja, meaning Thor and Loki have yet another sibling. The story goes that some time ago, Asgard was at war with the 10th realm, known as Heaven. Baby Angela was thought to have perished during the battle, but ended up growing up in heaven, unaware of her true origins. When Thor and Loki find out about their sister, they decide to meet her, but things don't go smoothly. Unaware of their relationship and goaded by Loki, Angela attacks Thor and even prepares to turn her fury to Asgard. Even though she's his sister, Thor isn't a fan of anyone who defeats him or threatens Asgard. Eventually, Angela discovers the truth about who she is. She's cast out of heaven, but doesn't want to return to Asgard either, so she sets off to explore other realms. The relationship between Thor and Angela is definitely something we hope Marvel decides to expand upon in the future. Well, and there you have it. Which superhero do you enjoy seeing Thor go head-to-head with? Are there any heroes we may have missed? Let us know in the comments section below, and don't forget to subscribe to CBR for more videos like this one. Thanks for watching.